Jonathan, Kent, and Jack went to the bar where Clark was staying in Suicide Slum. Jonathan told the bartender they needed to get into Clark's room. The bartender was unsure if she should let them into Clark's room. Jonathan told her there is something we need to get to help Clark. He was being controlled by a hostile alien right now. The bartender said that might be an exception. She let them upstairs and let them into his room. They searched until they found his hiding place for the 4 relics. Just as they found them, Lois walked into the room. She asked why were they in Clark's room without Clark. Jonathan told her that Brainiac had Clark. She asked, what do they mean he had Clark? Jack explained that he had some kind of mind control device and Clark was under his power. Lois asked, how are we going to help him? The bartender said, we? Lois looked at her and said, he needs our help. We can't just abandon him. Jack said, this is about more than leaving Clark vulnerable to an enemy. The bartender asked, what do you mean? Jack said, Clark is the most powerful being on this planet, and right now, an alien who had no problem wiping out Metropolis completely just to get rid of him has him under his control. And we just destroyed everything that could possibly stop Clark. Jonathan said, we have to stop Brainiac, or he could use Clark to destroy us all. Lois said, so what's the plan? Jonathan said, we have the relics needed to power Brainiac's weapon. We need to go back to his mansion and get the weapon. Jack said, problem is the last time we tried, he got Clark. If they're both still there, we will not be able to get past both of them. Lois said, okay, you two get to the mansion and find the weapon. We'll draw out Brainiac and Clark. The bartender said, we? Lois looked at her and said, yeah, I figured anyone who's managed to keep a business going in Suicide Slum for years has got to be tough. The bartender said, there's a difference between fighting angry drunks and angry aliens. Jonathan looked at her and said, come on, it's for Clark. The bartender said, okay, and as everyone left the room, she said under her breath, you owe me big time. Lois and the bartender entered the reception area of Galaxy Communications. It is deserted. The bartender asked, what's going on? Lois said, looks like Brainiac is tying up loose ends. Brainiac called out, then I guess you should be on the list as well. Lois and the bartender turn around and see Clark and Brainiac. The bartender looked at that weird helmet on Brainiac's head and said, nice headgear. Is that to keep you from hurting yourself? Lois asked Clark if he was okay, but Clark was still in a trance. Brainiac said he was just fine, then ordered Clark to kill them both. Clark super speeds across the room and appeared right in front of them. Before he could strike, the bartender pulled out an air horn and pressed the button and let it sound right in Clark's ear. Clark was momentarily stunned. The bartender yelled at Lois to run and she took off toward the stairway. Lois tried to run away, but Clark caught her and held her. Lois looked into Clark's eyes and pled, please Clark, you're stronger than this. You can fight this. Brainiac shouted, enough. Finish her. Lois said to Clark, this isn't you. You are not a murderer. Please, Clark, fight this. Fight him. You are more than just your powers. Clark was broken out of his trance. He said, confused, Lois? Lois smiled at him. Welcome back, Clark. Brainiac sighed in frustration and took off the helmet. He said, I guess I'm going to have to do this the hard way.